question is, who's not wearing pants?
I got on pants today.
Shorts.
Legs.
I have shorts on. I thought about just wearing my Speedo though. I was like, oh, it should be the Speedo episode.
I mean, because you remember on our last episode, Jerrell was saying there's sometimes
that is true. We didn't.
90% of the time, I don't wear pants.
And we didn't know this until like 2 episodes ago.
Let's go put our pants on.
This is John.
And this is David
of the Queer Money Podcast. What's brewing today?
Introducing AunTeas Hendrix and Sazerac.
Ask your aunties, dead end blowjobs.
And I'll buy you some booty if you go vote. So get your cups ready for Minority Report. Hey, y'all.
Spanish in there.
Look, she go to Mexico and then she become bilingual like that. Look.
But we know how to code switch. So it's in our DNA.
Exactly.
She said, get in where you fit in.
That part. But community, yes, I am down in PV right now. So gotta get a little Spanish, a little tequila. Well, they're drinking tequila. I'm not even drinking tequila. Like I missed that memo.
I'm drinking tequila because of you. I was supposed to win the bet, but you know,
you might be doing PV wrong.
Squash that.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I think Auntie Jerrell ain't vacationing correct in PV. I need her to be on tank top so I can stop taking these tequila shots.
I just had a feeling. Okay, so we have to explain this for the community, right? Okay, before we get into you guys, because we want to give you all the attention. 5 minutes before we start recording, I hit up Jerrell on the low, and I'm like, okay, you want to have some fun? And he's like, yeah, girl. So I said, okay, Carell is in PV. And he was like, yeah, because he's gonna stunt on us the whole time because he's in PV.
The whole time.
So I said, let's do a bet. Let's bet, what is he gonna wear? Is he gonna wear a tank top or is he gonna wear a t-shirt? And I'll let you pick first. And then whoever loses has to take a shot, okay? So he picked the tank top, and then I ended up getting the t-shirt. Although I was going to pick the t-shirt because I figured you would be wearing your Minority Report t-shirt. But it ended up working out. And then when we got on, baby, t-shirt.
Here she is.
But I didn't let my sister drink alone, so I did take a shot.
And the thing is, I was telling them I literally changed out of the tank top right before I hopped on because I'll probably meet Corey out after. So I was like, okay, just to cut down on time and everything, let me just throw the t-shirt on now, blah, 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 call it good. So technically, you both kind of won.
No, there can only be one winner. Ain't no participation medals up in this bitch.
Auntie Chardonnay won that one.
This is why I don't gamble, because I'm bad at it, okay? Because I be logical and shit don't make sense, and I always lose. And I'm like, you know what?
Right. And well, speaking of gambling, community, you hear a couple additional voices already this episode, and they live in Vegas, actually. Yes, we have John and David from Queer Money Podcast with us, and you've been seeing our little promos all week, trying to get your questions to specifically ask them, and we have some good ones here today. So welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
We're excited to be here.
Yes,
appreciate it.
Definitely excied to have you.
Do you guys have auntie names?
Yes.
We do. I'm Auntie Hendrix.
And I'm Auntie Sazerac.
Oh, yes. They know how to party.
I'm not ready for y'all. I can't handle y'all one at a time.
Original New Orleans cocktail. Right?
Yeah, allegedly it's the first cocktail created in the United States, right?
Yep.
In New Orleans.
Really?
Yeah.
Allegedly.
I didn't know that.
Huh.
Absinthe and whiskey mixed together.
The more you
Right.
know.
We're all better off now, right?
Right.
Absolutely. So tell us about the journey. So like you guys, like we were kind of getting their little history beforehand because you might know them as the debt-free guys as well. So how did this come about? How did like debt-free come about? Queer Money Podcast come about? What was that journey like?
Yeah, so we found ourselves about a year and a half after we got together in $51,000 in credit card debt. And there's a whole story to that that we could tell at some point. But The irony was that at the time that we had over 15 years of combined experience in financial services. So we were helping other people with their money, telling them how to invest and save for retirement, prepare to put their kids through school. But we weren't advising ourselves, and we were doing quite miserably personally. So we figured out
right.
and we figured out a way to pay off that credit card debt in 2.5 years. And we decided that once we did that, we felt like we had learned something both from our professional experience as well as our personal experience that would actually provide value to people. And that's, make a long story short, we eventually started the debtfreeguys.com blog. And then about a year two after that, we went to our first conference called FinCon. It's a personal finance bloggers and media conference.
Money nerds
go there. CNBC, Wall Street Journal folks go there. And we were there, and there were about 900 people there, and we realized that there were all these different bloggers, Christian bloggers, military spouses, stay-at-home moms. The African-American women bloggers are phenomenal, and they set the bar for us and inspired us. But we realized that nobody was talking to the LGBT community, and at that point, we were the only first out people at that conference. So we went home and we thought, well, maybe somebody needs to talk to our community.
Whoa, hold up. Wait, you guys were the first and only out, or the only out gay people at the conference?
Over 900 people. And we had several people come up to us at the conference who had started to follow us, had seen us out in the social space, as well as, us doing our writing on various other platforms. And we never were out. It was never out front for us that we were a gay couple, but we just never hid it either. And so there were a couple of smart people, especially women,
smarter than us,
right?
They saw me on Scruff and said,
"No."
They heard that.
Like third row to the back.
Yes. You are 5 feet away.
Right.
So it was very interesting. We were sitting at a dinner that one of the corporations was kind of hosting. So there was a small group of people. There was probably about 20 people sitting in the room. And we had done some work with this organization, this corporation earlier in the year. And so had another blogger. She was sitting across the table from us. And she said, "You guys have to stop trying to be Dave Ramsey. He's got that covered. No one is talking to the LGBT community. You guys are gay. Get out there and talk to the LGBT community." And that really was kind of the, push us out of the nest kind of scenario for us to go home and say, we're not hiding this. We might as well go run with it. And we started, absolutely. That's when we started to do it. And what's interesting is prior to that time period, there was very little data about how money was different for the LGBT community. And it was starting to trickle out there. But John and I also started reaching out to various organizations saying, please give us more data so we know what's happening in the community, so that we understand how to help our community with the financial questions and issues that they're dealing with. So that's kind of how we got started.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's still kind of my, so if you were the first, how many are out there? Like, is it still like very few?
No, it's gotten great. So last year we went and there were 1,200 people there that last year.
No, 2,200.
Oh, 2,200. And we had a LGBT money meetup during the conference that Capital One sponsored for us, and
nice.
We had over 45.
Yeah, there's about 45 people there who were either directly themselves members of the queer community, or were creating content that was specifically, they wanted to address some of the issues. We all know that we go to these websites and sometimes the writer is queer and sometimes they're not, but the ones that are not can sometimes do a great job at covering the issues that we're dealing with.
So it's getting better, and we're seeing more and more people come online. So the more the merrier. Awesome. So if anybody's out there want to join the queer media space, money media space, do it.
That's what's up. amazing to hear. I don't know, like for me personally, I was excited to get you guys on the podcast just because I like growing up in school, like you know how they do like the state testing and stuff like that. When I was in high school, a lot of like the problem solving questions involved money and credit cards and stuff like that. And then like an article came out like that's also how credit card people were like credit card agency was targeting young people to start getting them into it too, thinking about credit cards at a young age. And then from there, like it completely like turned me away. Like I didn't have anything in my own like as far as credit go or anything. I just got my first credit card like December of last year. And I'm 32.
Really?
Yes, December of last year. Like, and I never took out a loan or anything. Well, I have like student loans, whatever, but I'm paying those off and stuff like that. But other than that, I've never had anything like to my name really to help with my credit or anything like that. And this whole time, like I was like, oh, my credit's great, blah, blah, blah. But then I learned that once you didn't have anything like that, then your credit doesn't grow, etc. So like when I heard you guys run, I was like, perfect. Because now at 32, I find myself like trying to find like ways to like, you know, like be more and stuff. So yeah. So I was like,
and that's actually interesting because like that kind of leads to one of the questions that someone sent in. I guess we'll hop right into it because they said in today's world, you need to have credit history, usually 2 to 3 trade lines to have a good score and get financing when you need it. How do you, I guess, educate and advise your clients to build their credit history and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. There's several things that you can do to build your credit score. One of our favorite tips to share with people is most of our followers and readers and listeners drive. So we oftentimes suggest you have to get gas anyway. So get a gas station credit card. Usually you have a maximum of like $100 or $200 on that card, and you really can only use that at the gas station or the company that you have it through. So you're not going to be able to go on a wild spending spree on your Texaco card, unless you buy all the food and
right. It's like all these
Texaco.
Butterfingers.
Right, exactly. You spend $100 on chiclets. Come on now.
Crunchy hot dogs and stuff.
Right.
So it's a pretty safe bet to get a gas station credit card. Put your gas on that, pay it off before it's due. 2 or 3 months after that, you'll have yourself a nice, decent credit history to start off with.
Yeah. So the number one factor in your credit score is your payment history, right? So when you have 2 years of 24 months, consecutive months of paying your whatever it is, whether it's a loan, there are some companies now that are reporting things like your Netflix bill, your utility bill, your phone bill. When those get reported to the credit agencies, if you're paying those on time, that's going to help improve your credit score. Missing just one of those can have a huge detrimental impact. Typically, you'll see that if somebody misses, as soon as they miss a payment, their credit score will drop anywhere from about 80 to 100 points immediately.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And that sticks around for at least 2 years. So.
Yeah.
The next biggest part of the calculation for your credit score is your credit history, and that's the duration that you've had your oldest loan. So very often people they want to improve their credit score, or they want to pay off their credit card debt, and they'll try to cancel their credit cards and cut everything up. And there's a certain logic to that, but you don't want to close the card or your loan with the oldest history. You want to try to hold on to that as long as possible, because that's the second largest component that makes up your entire credit score.
Yeah.
I had a situation that happened to me earlier this year. I had an old credit card that had 0 balance on it, and I wasn't active with it for a very long time. I think it was maybe 2 years. And I had another credit card that I was using because I'd switched to start getting points and all that kind of fun stuff. So I started to play that game. But my other credit card was just a basic credit card. It wasn't giving me any additional value back. At any rate, the bank decided to close that credit card because I didn't use it.
Yeah.
And what that ended up doing was impacting my credit to balance ratio, credit to whatever Thank you. The credit utilization. See, that's why you the money guys. And I'm over here drinking tequila.
Right.
But you can do both. You can do both.
Yeah. But it severely impacted my credit utilization, meaning that the amount of credit that I was using was close to the max of my credit limits. Right. Because the other card, which had a very large credit limit on it, ended up getting canceled. And so it dropped my credit score like 80 points. Just that alone.
Just to let everyone know, your credit utilization is basically how much of the available credit that you are using, right? So if you have $10,000 between two cards and one is $7,000 and one is $3,000, but you only have $2,000 on the two cards, you're only using 20% of that 10,000. As soon as that number starts to get about 35 or 40%, your credit score is going to start to go down. Mm-hmm. Now, if you just had one credit card with $2,000 on it and was the one with $3,000 available, and they close out the $7,000 card, all of a sudden you go from using 20% to using 66%, mm-hmm. and that's going to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we often say that using credit cards is like swimming in the deep end. People often ask us if we're against credit cards, and we're not. But it's only for the right person who's prepared to know how to use it and is responsible enough to use them. So using credit cards is like swimming in the deep end. A very deep end trick to use if you want to improve your credit score is to get another credit card to increase your available debt or available credit. And that'll of course drop your credit utilization. But that's a very grown-up strategy.
Yeah, be careful.
Because that could put you in a precarious position if you start swiping that.
Swipes up at Tom Ford, Dewan. Is that what you're doing?
Exactly.
I was very hesitant to get my first credit card. Again, the only reason why I got it was because I knew that I needed to start building my credit. And I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. I don't have a car. Where I live, I don't need a car, so I don't have anything, there's nothing in my life that I need that I can buy or purchase that can start helping my credit. And so the credit card was the best option for me to go. But even when I got it, they were well, what are you thinking for a balance? I was I don't want this to be nothing more than one paycheck. I want it to be something that I know that I can pay off at a drop of a dime. So that way I don't get myself in no doo-doo because I'm a shopaholic. And so I was kind of spanking my own hand as I was signing the paper. I was bitch, you better be careful now.
That part.
Because I live in Seattle. Amazon is you can get shit in day of. So it's very easy to be they'll be here in 36 hours,
Yeah, that's definitely very, very smart of you. Something you might want to consider. I mean, if you have a cell phone, have your cell phone payment automatically deducted from your credit card. Sometimes if you allow for that auto deduction, your phone company will give you a slight discount on the rate they charge you, but then you have to promise yourself that you'll pay that off every single month, and that'll be a nice way to grow your credit score.
I would, but I got a family plan, and I got all my Negroes on there, so it's they ain't messing with it. I ain't trusting them. But I did put my video game, my PS4 is on there. That is auto recurring on there. I did put that on there because I knew that chip too. But, yes.
Question for you then. So I would say I'm pretty savvy on like credit card stuff, but I'm in a predicament right now that I'm trying to figure out the best game plan. So I had 2 Southwest cards to do the companion pass and had that for the last 2 years. This year's up. I don't want to pay the $95 fee anymore. However, I know if I close it, it does hurt your score just because of the history, even though I have credit cards that are over a decade old. So I know it won't hurt it too bad. Is it better to just see what card I could maybe downgrade to, or do I just close it and take the little whatever 50-point hit or whatever it may be?
Yeah, this is a strategy we use all the time.
Yeah, so you may want to contact, let's see here, it's a Southwest card, so I think that's a MasterCard, right?
It's a Visa.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So I would contact the issuer of the card and ask them if they have a no annual fee plan that you can just have that card switched to, so that you maintain the account number and the account history. Not all providers will do that. That's much more common with just banks. Regular banks will oftentimes do that, but check to see, because if you look at those rewards cards, they have all those different levels, right? You've got the gold card and the black card and all these different levels. Well, it's harder to switch when you've got that kind of plan or that kind of card, because you're going to maintain the same account number. They need to reissue it, so they'll oftentimes just cancel the card and issue a new account, which will set you up with the exact same problem, right? You're going to have your credit history dinged because you're getting rid of all that history. So check with them first. The other thing is, right now, a lot of credit card companies are being very lenient with those annual fees, especially because of what's going on right now. You might want to just call them and say, hey, would you guys be interested in waiving that fee this year?
Yeah.
And then you can try to get that. We've actually heard our credit card payoff plan. We do a group meeting with folks on Tuesday nights, and there's a woman in the group who is awesome at negotiating, and she has done that with all of her cards over the last year. Has gone in and got fees and various things negotiated off of her cards. So it does, answer is always no if you don't call.
Man, if they had that kind of class in college, I would be all over it.
That part.
I don't need astronomy. Please, let me just teach me how to negotiate. Negotiate my credit cards and negotiate my car payment.
That part.
And paychecks. Salary.
Yeah.
Right.
Then on the flip side of that question, I guess, too, then, so another card that I thoroughly enjoy, like I have the Chase Reserve card. Love it, like, because I love traveling. Clearly, I'm in PV and things like that. And I figured the rewards that I do get offset kind of that yearly. Oh, the stunt. Okay, I see the game. Don't play. I see the game. It's okay.
I'm perfectly, exactly going.
Perfectly.
That's okay. Hey, this is what's gonna happen. I'm saying,
bring it on.
Y'all gonna be down here on the floor.
It's gonna make for a great episode. And for people that are watching us on YouTube, for people that are listening to this on the streaming services, we just both took a drink of our drinks because he's going to be stunting on us all this time. So
here's the thing.
Brings it up.
I have stayed in the house. Here's the thing. DeWan and Jerrell have been like in Rhode Island and Palm Springs and this every damn weekend. And Carell finally takes a damn trip somewhere. Anyway.
And we're going to party on your behalf.
No, that's right, boo. I know that's right.
I'm mad you caught that though. Damn.
Oh, definitely. Come on now.
That's that sister magic right there.
Right.
Because even John and David caught that.
Y'all did it at the same time, like. But and I forget what the question was. Oh, the
Chase card.
Reserve
would
card.
you advise people to not get cards with these yearly fees?
So yeah, it really is. It's very circumstantial. Depends on each individual, right? John and I wrote an article for Forbes that talked about how rewards credit cards really are designed for folks who make a significant amount of money. A lot of us get trapped into this idea of using these reward credit cards because we get the free miles, the free vacation, or the free night at the hotel, or all these freebies, right? But then if you go back and you look at how long it took you to earn that, or how long it took you to earn that second one, if you're being charged $95 a year, $150 a year, sometimes it's cheaper just to get the cash back rewards credit card.
Yeah.
Especially, if you're not able to charge a significant amount of money every month to earn those bonuses and those rewards. The cash back are oftentimes better. But hey, if you've got a ton of money and you can rack up credit cards, especially if you're an entrepreneur, if you have a business or a side hustle, they're great because you're oftentimes charging a couple $100 to a couple of $1,000s a month, and that's how you land those free vacations. So,
pay the balance off every month.
Yeah, I would maybe
Absolutely.
go back and say, how does it make more sense to have one that has that kind of bonus, and use that one exclusively and drop the other ones,
Right.
or how much money are you really spending?
Yeah, that's what I started doing. I switched over to because I still have my Chase Reserve, but I switched over to Amex Delta, and I'm able to pay my rent, and I live in New York, so rents are a lot, a lot, and I pay my sister's rent, which is not as much, but because those are two bills that get paid off every single month. And it doesn't take any skin off my teeth. It's not additional spending. It's just I'm paying those and I'm not getting any additional fees on top of that. So, it kind of works for me. But I hear what you're saying, because if you're not in a situation where you can really take advantage of it, without getting yourself into trouble, like, oh, I'm just going to go ahead and buy some, I don't know, Tom Ford shoes or whatever, it's like, this might not be the way you go.
I had a
People who
question
don't
for
pay-
you.
Oh,
Go ahead, Liz. No, go ahead, baby. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, the people who don't pay off their credit cards each month are the ones who subsidize all the vacations that all of us go on. So keep that in mind when you're
They're paying for all the freebies.
That part.
They're paying for you. So
if you're not paying your card off, you're paying for somebody else's vacation.
This is like the American government, the whole credit card system.
Yeah.
yeah.
My question for you all was: is there a difference between opening up like a card, like through like a credit union versus through something like a bigger card, like Chase or Wells Fargo or U.S. Bank or something else? Like, is one card designed more as a starter, for those who are working on the credits, or is there a system to it?
Yeah, so both types of cards function the same. What you'll often see with credit unions is that the terms and conditions are a little bit more friendly, specifically with the interest rate that they'll charge you. They'll often be a little bit lower than what you might get at a bigger or more traditional bank.
They may not always have the same kinds of rewards too, though. If you're out there looking for a rewards card, you're looking for a brand that's offering the rewards typically. Right? But the credit union is a great place to start. Actually, the place that we encourage brand new folks who don't even have a credit card is to start with a secured credit card. A secured credit card is basically where you make a deposit. Some of them are as low as $49. Some of them are as high as $5,000. But you basically make a deposit into an account, and then they give you a credit card with the same amount of limit on it. Right. So it can literally train you to make sure that you're paying your credit card off every single month. It's also a great tool for folks who have had some difficulty in the past, had all their cards canceled. Maybe you had debt settlement, or maybe you had to go through bankruptcy. It's kind of like, how we talked about credit cards are swimming in the deep end. Secured credit cards are like credit cards with training wheels. They're just really kind of, that's how we can learn how to ride again.
But you definitely want to read the fine print with those and make sure you understand that the fees are going to charge. Some secured credit cards have high fees, so you want to make sure you're aware of what you're paying and look for a lower fee.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know. Yeah, because I went through a credit union, that a bank. I've been with the same bank since I was a sophomore in high school, since like 2004, and it was a credit union. So I've been with the same people, and I was like, well, been with them for 15 years. Might as well just stay with them at this point and go through them, and it worked out just great. But I was just curious if it going through a credit union was a good startup, or if I was doing it backwards. I was like,
you're doing a good job. Credit unions are wonderful. We love them.
Okay, shifting gears. So we had a question come in that said, how long after buying a house should we refinance to a lender we like?
This is a good question.
Again, the question is, it depends. That's one of the things you're going to find with most questions about finance. It's really going to depend on your individual circumstance, right? More often than not, the reason why we want to refinance is because there's a lower interest rate, but that can actually also hurt us. Most folks think, oh yeah, lower interest rate, this is perfect, I'm just going to do this. One of the big ways that folks get that lower monthly payment is by doing that refinance to lower interest rate, but then they bump the terms back out to say 30 years, right? So I go out and get a 30-year loan. I live in the house for 2 years. I've paid, literally, I have paid practically nothing because all of that has been going towards interest rather than principal, right? So I go out and I do a refinance, and the only savings I'm going to get is the fact that my interest is going to go down. The way to get a bigger bang for the buck, or at least that the way the mortgage lenders try to encourage you to do it, is to bump your terms back out to 30 years. Well, it's like when you play Monopoly and you go around and it says, do not pass go, do not collect $200. That's kind of what you just did to yourself, is by starting that 30-year time frame all over again. So there are some calculators out there online that are really good at helping you plug that kind of information in. I'd love to say we have one on our website, but we don't. So
technology is kind of hard.
Yeah, if you look for Nerd Wallet has a good one, but it's just a mortgage refinance calculator, and it allows you to plug the information in. And what it does is it gives you what's called a break-even point as to where it would make sense for you, or when it would make sense. How low does the interest rate actually have to go? How long are the terms going to be where you're going to actually start saving money if you do a refinance? The other thing to keep in mind is that a lot of times with refinances, there's all sorts of extra fees. You're just going through that whole closing process all over again. Title company, everybody needs to get their money, right? So, so everybody who's a part of the process wants to get paid, and you're basically going through that closing process all over again. So they all need to get paid. So you're paying those kinds of fees. So you need to include that in your calculations.
Yeah, very oftentimes lenders will wrap all those fees into this one nice crisp number that looks a lot lower. So you got to really make sure you read the fine print and break out the numbers to make sure you understand what you're signing up for.
So how do you make sure that you're not doing your 30-year again? Because actually it's something that like we're looking into potentially. But like that, I was just like, I don't want to restart the term all over again, because that kind of doesn't make sense to me. And so we looked at some of the calculators and we're like, okay, are we going to be in Atlanta for another X whatever number of years and things like that, trying to figure that out. But how do you go to these lenders and say, we don't want another 30, like we've been in the house 3.5 years. Are there 27 month? Are there 25 month? Like how do you do that part of it?
Yeah, they definitely do different intervals. You can go as low as 5 years if you want to. Typically, they'll do them in 5-year increments, so you won't be able to get like an out of cycle term. So 5, 15, 25, 30. We went from a 30 to a 15. Is that how we did ours? Yeah. So you can tell them what you want, and they'll tell you what's available, what they have available at their banks.
Right.
You'll typically find that when you're shopping out online, you're going to find those 5-year increments. But if you're working with a mortgage broker, and we would encourage you that if you're thinking about this, get a hold of your local LGBT Chamber of Commerce, talk to someone that is a member of the chamber that is a mortgage broker. Let's support our community, right? But talk with them and say, mortgage brokers, their purpose in life, their job is to go out and try to find somebody who will lend you money on the terms that you want, right? So if you want a 27-year mortgage, they'll try to find somebody who'd be willing to do a 27-year mortgage.
Right. Okay.
Switching gears a little bit, there's a lot of us out there that are kind of balancing between, like carrying, let's say, credit card debt, and then or investing in our 401ks. Can you talk a little bit about, as gay people, as anybody that's kind of like questioning, like, where do I spend the money that I have, whether it's extra money or it's, my essential money, to give me the biggest bang for my buck? Is it in my future, or is it to pay off what's going on currently?
Yeah, so this is a great question that we get a lot as well. So if you have a 401k and you have credit card debt and you're trying to weigh how do you balance the two? Always contribute enough to your 401k to at least get your corporate match if your company offers one. Because without doing that, you're essentially leaving free money on the table. So you definitely want to take advantage of that. After you're meeting that minimum, then you want to balance the interest rates that you're paying on your credit cards relative to what kind of return you'll get in the stock market. Conservative estimate in the stock market is you're going to get about 7%. If you want to be a little bit aggressive, probably looking at about 10%. Well, most folks who have credit cards are paying at least 15, 18, 25%. So if you're not able to lower those rates, and most people don't exactly know how to do that, it makes more sense to focus on paying off the credit card debt first. It's frustrating, and you're always going to hear people on TV saying, start investing in your retirement now, time is money, all that kind of stuff. And but if you're in a credit card situation, net, you're going to pay more in the long run if you hold on to that credit card debt at 25% than if you invest in the stock market today. So pay that debt off fast. And we're big advocates of our debt lasso method to do so. And we can walk people through doing that on our credit card payoff plan if they need help. Pay that credit card debt off fast and then start committing as much as you can to that 401k.
The interesting thing is,
go ahead.
Those are both basically the exact same thing. They're both compound interest, right? The stock market is compound interest accumulating, going up, and we all love that. Credit card debt is compound interest accumulating, but going negative, getting worse and worse and worse, right? And we don't like that, right? So no matter which end of the line you work on, you're actually working towards improving your financials future. If you tackle the credit card debt, you will actually have more money in the future to be able to invest into your 401k, into your retirement. Because as John mentioned, you're going to be paying off at a guaranteed 15 or 18 or 20, 25%. Whatever that credit card interest rate is, that's your guaranteed rate of return. You don't ever get a guaranteed rate of return in the stock market. You're just hoping you get that 7 or 10%.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's interesting.
And I'll just add a caveat to maybe inspire people. There's no other part of the economy designed for success quite like the stock market. So the sooner you can start investing in the stock market, and we want everybody to invest in it as soon as possible, the better off for you. So work on that credit card debt, pay it off fast, and then get in the stock market.
Okay. This says, hello, AunTeas. I have a finance question that should be easy to answer. I have some stocks and IRAs, but with the market being unstable and my company pausing to pay into my 401k due to COVID, what do you recommend I do with my income to put towards my retirement years? Please advise. So you might have already kind of hit on that a little bit, but.
Yeah, so to the extent that this individual could, they can still contribute into their individual retirement account if they want to. And we would advocate for doing so, even in the current stock market. But that's assuming that they don't have other debt and other considerations to factor into the calculation. It does suck every now and then. Stock or the economy gets really bad, or politics gets really bad, and companies do pull the corporate match. But continue to invest as much as you can if you don't have any other extenuating circumstances.
I would also say that it's very difficult to change the corporate match on an employer-sponsored retirement account. The plan has legal requirements around it. So check to see if they're just pausing it, because sometimes they'll pause it and then they'll catch up later in the year because they have a requirement. You know, we always like to chide or make fun of these CEOs who are paying themselves these big amounts of money, right? Well, oftentimes on the retirement plans, it says that if the CEO takes this amount, then everybody else gets that amount, right? So the CEOs, the people at the top, they don't want to stop that just as much as you don't want them to stop it.
Right.
So it may be that they've just paused it. Check that first.
And then I don't know if this is controversial or not, but I'm wondering if you guys can just share your opinion on this. A lot of couples, when they get together, especially gay couples, love to mix their finances. And they may have other financial things that are going on in the background that the other doesn't know about, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, what advice do you give to, couples, who are married, not married, partnered, et cetera, that are starting to think about mixing our shared bank accounts, getting loans with each other's names on them, car loans, et cetera? What advice do you give to folks like that?
Yeah, it's a great question. That's probably our second most common question that we get is about how to talk to my partner about money. And before you start merging your finances together, because there can be some detrimental consequences to that, make sure you have a very open and honest conversation about where you both are financially. If one of you is carrying debt and you get married, you're all of a sudden assuming that person's debt. If someone has a repayment plan for paying off their student loans and you get married, all of a sudden your household income goes up and you've lost that repayment plan. You have to renegotiate that. So there can be some detrimental consequences to that. So make sure you have a very open and transparent conversation about your financial situation and know what you're getting into before you decide to merge your finances. An iterative step that folks might want to consider is there is an app called Honeyfi, and it helps couples budget money together. And it helps you start to, on paper anyway, merge your finances to the extent that you're comfortable. So if you're still in the puppy love phase and you want to have a shared checking account, you can do that and both have access to be able to monitor that checking account and make sure you pay any of your mutual bills together. And as you're feeling more comfortable, you can slowly start to add your individual checking and savings accounts, your IRAs accounts and whatnot to the extent that you're comfortable. And you can do that as as your relationship evolves.
What's the app called again? You said it's called Honey what?
It's called Honeyfi. So honey with a small F and a small I.
Okay.
Financial independence. FI is financial.
Love.
What's so funny is that app, they did a study.
Oh, you'll love this.
They did a study, both of the general population, but then we worked with them and they did another study of the LGBT population. And it was basically the same, that couples that talk about money together are 83% more likely to say that they have a better sex life.
Ooh.
So
hold on,
you want to have better sex? Maybe you need to start talking about money.
Actual, saying an actual might be two different things. I don't know. But if you're not stressed, if you're not carrying that stress, that can definitely affect your performance. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Well, it points out.
And I mean, unless you're a lay there kind of girl. If you're a lay there kind of girl, then your performance is here across the board. So you don't got to worry about that.
I got one more question. I know, Crow, you probably got a couple more, but
yeah.
So from your perspective, what finance or money conversation, particularly for the LGBTQ plus community, what money conversation are we not having right now that we should be having?
We're not talking about money as a community. We're like we said earlier, we go to these conferences and we see these different demographics talking about money, and the LGBTQ community is far behind everybody else. We're simply not talking about it. And there could be we have a lot of theories around that, but the ones that stand out to us most is that a lot of us are putting on airs of being fabulous, and we don't want to pull back the curtain and have anybody realize that, that we're the Oz behind the curtain. So there's a lot of emotions.
I'm tired of buying rounds of shots.
Well, it's interesting. We had one of the members of our credit card payoff course was in Miami, or he was in Florida, right, like 2 or 3 weeks after he joined the course. And he was direct messaging David saying, I just bought a round of drinks for my entire group of friends and I don't have any money for this. Why did I do this?
Seriously.
And, we all want to have fun. We all want to put on these airs of being fabulous. But very often we don't actually have the finances to be able to sustain that. Or we've accumulated so much debt that we can't sustain it anymore. And, that's just a symptom of a deeper problem. Very often, especially LGBTQ folks, and especially I would say gay men, come from times and places when it wasn't okay to be gay, and we're making up for all of that pain and baggage that we brought into adulthood with us, and we're trying to make up for that in spending very often.
You think about it when you get together with your friends. Well, back in the day when you could get together with your friends, and you walk in the house or you'd walk in the party or whatever, and immediately you would start talking about, well, where have you been recently, or what restaurants? You start listing all the, or everybody's like, oh, look at her outfit, and it just everybody looks
sorry,
right. Everybody is looking at the outward appearance of things, right? And the sad thing is that 56% of folks in the LGBT community worry about money every single week.
I believe it.
We're worrying about money every single week, yet we're going out there and we're buying the Tom Ford shoes, or we're buying the Coach bag so that we can look fabulous. But then we open up the credit card bill and we're like, well, shit, I can't afford this. And then we start stressing about it. And the feeling fab only lasts for a little while, right? That's what we learned.
This is one of those moments.
$51,000 in credit card debt.
Yeah, this is one of those moments where, like, I kind of appreciate my struggle of where I come from. Like, I don't know if I shared this part on the podcast, but at one point in my life, we were homeless. So we literally slept in my mother's car, my sister, my mom, and I. And it was for about maybe like 4 or 5 months. And still was going to school, like trying to make things work and stuff like that. But like that traumatic experience for me has like made me want to be a minimalist as much as possible. And so I think that that's another reason they cater to the like, well, I don't want a credit card because I want to live within my means, because I don't want to ever get to a point where that's where my life is ever again. And to the point where I have to owe people. And so like, I appreciate that. But at the same time, I know like for those who are also going through struggles like that and have that same mindset, you still almost have to play the game to have credit to still live your life and go somewhere else and have more, And it's like, damn, I feel like I'm playing chess and checkers at the same time. I'm playing checkers with my past and I'm trying to play chess with my future to make sure that I'm like still, like able to have what I'm aspiring to have in my future, And it's like, it's almost like overwhelming at the same time. And it's also like, fuck, why gotta be this damn complicated?
And it's interesting you say that, Jerrell, because, and I'm trying not to stunt. Y'all got me all thinking.
Go ahead. I'm ready to take my sip.
No, because yesterday in the pool, I heard this guy talk about, he's like, I'm 60 years old and I've never bought a house. And he said, because I inherited my parents' house. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like, that's interesting because I know a lot of times in the Black and brown communities, a lot of times this thing about wealth, we unfortunately haven't been able to inherit a lot of stuff to continue this generational wealth thing. And it kind of
we talk about like, rich, which is a different thing than wealth.
Absolutely. And being able, come on, Chris Rock, to be able to pass that down though. And it was just interesting to hear him. He's like, I am 60 years old and I've never bought a house, but I guarantee you, he is doing pretty well off, And it's just interesting, just this disparity of generational wealth between different communities, whether it be the gay community, Black and brown communities, white communities, blah, blah, blah. But just to hear like your story, Jerrell, and then to hear the flip side of someone that I inherited this house that has generated wealth over time. It's mind-boggling.
All my life, I didn't have to fight.
but it's just like that's what you want though. It's just like that's everyone's goal. It's just like to try to generate wealth so you could pass it on so the next generation doesn't have to struggle as hard as you're doing.
So you guys mentioned that you're both for the most part lifelong finance guys, but you kind of took your eye off the ball. So as you kind of like think back on your journey, like what was the catalyst for you, that says, why was it that it was so easy for me to do my job and then compartmentalize my own personal life to kind of find myself in this situation? I mean, it ended up being great in the sense that, you guys you're doing this really great service for the LGBT community, but I'm just curious about, your own like reflective insights on that disconnect.
I think I'm going to kind of pull in what Jerrell was talking about in his life experience. And I think, and we all have this, we all have a money story. And that really, that money story is based on the beliefs that we have inside of us. And those beliefs are formed based on the stories that we tell ourselves about money, right? Mm-hmm. I'm good with money. I'm bad with money. My family's rich. My family's poor. I'll never have enough. There's always enough. All of these different things that we tell ourselves. Just take a quick step back. I don't know if you've ever driven a stick shift or you've driven a car, right? Remember when you first started driving, you paid really close attention. You watched the road. You had the radio turned down. You were like, nobody talked to me, right? But today, you hop in the car and you just go flying down the road, right? You don't. And sometimes you don't even look, right? You go through a stoplight and you're like, okay, was that green?
How did I get home?
And you weren't drinking.
Our money story.
I wish that was me, and that's a story for another day because I was not that person. But yes.
That money story that we tell ourselves, that's what causes us to have all of the actions that we have throughout the day that we take but don't actually think about. Like when we swipe their credit card or we pay our bills. Some people don't pay their bills because they don't think that they have enough money. Well, if they don't pay their bills, they're going to get extra charges, so they won't have enough money, right? Mm-hmm. They could have paid the bill, but they didn't, right? So all of us kind of have this money story. And I came with a money story of scarcity. My family, when I was about 7 years old, my dad quit a job where he was making quite a bit of money and took a different job because of religion. And that meant that our family was scraping by for quite a while. And that put in me this mindset of, we'll never have enough money. We'll never have, there's not enough money for this. There's not enough money for that. Mm-hmm. That has stuck with me even in parts of it to today. And that's part of why I had this problem with credit card debt, because I thought, well, I know I can use the credit card. I don't have enough money, but I'll use the credit card. Don't have enough money, but I'm gonna use the credit card. Mm-hmm. That became my story.
Yeah, Benihana's.
For me, it was more for me, it was more about what I mentioned earlier, coming from a time and place when it wasn't okay to be gay. So I had this limiting belief about what I was worth. But then also when I finally found the queer community and I had friends, mostly gay men, I felt like I had to compete. Like I had to have the right jeans. I had to have the right vacations. I had to go to all the happy hours. And if I didn't do the right stuff, then this community would ostracize me as well. And so I had a lot of insecurity about that. And so I had like these two things working against me, despite the fact that I was telling people all day long about how to be fiscally responsible.
Wow. It just goes to show that, like everyone, this is a conversation that everyone needs to be having with themselves. And if you're partnering up with somebody else, you need to be having that conversation with that partner. And, you might not always have the right words, but at least if you're starting to have the conversation, you can kind of figure out, what will work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Moving to Seattle.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say moving to Seattle has like forced me to have those money conversations just because like for the company I work for, I still am on a Midwest salary, but I live in Seattle, Washington, and have all these friends that work for Amazon and freaking Microsoft and like Zillow and all these other companies where they're making like money. And I'm just like, hey, I ain't got it like that. Like I literally, I just had to swallow my pride and just start having those conversations because I knew that I would have been drowning trying to keep up with them. And also like kind of going back to my history before, like I took kind of pride. I had to learn how to take pride in how I got to where I am today to find that confidence to be able to have those conversations and be like, guess what? I made it here without having to do that. And that means something. So how about instead of 100%. Trying to catch up with them and try to keep up with them, how about I just be good in where I am and own it, and celebrate that versus celebrating their journey.
Absolutely. Bars. Come on
You should have more tequila.
All right.
Exactly.
It'll happen.
Say less. Say less. Here it is. You ain't gotta tell me twice.
So like this year, and obviously we're kind of getting later in the episode, but this year, obviously with COVID and things like that, how do people deal with medical bills? That like say you are in a hospital and bills are racking up. Like how do you tackle that?
It is a tough one because
you have a new healthcare system is one.
Yeah, exactly.
That part.
Well, and it really kind of depends on where you're at, right? Some states are covering some of the costs associated with folks being in the hospital. Some states are not. And individually, how is your insurance? I would love to say that we all have the same insurance and we could just have one conversation, but you know, it's very different from person to person. And the reality is that we have to look at, although we hate it, right? We have to look at a medical expense the same way we would look at any other expense. You know, I'll tell you, I would rather have a healthy heart than have a new Ferragamo pair of shoes, right? So I can either buy the shoes or I can buy the heart. And so I got to take care of the bills that
You have a heart.
Yeah, that's just we have to look at it as it is who I am. It's my responsibility. You know, I was just mentioning to Jerrell earlier before we came on the show. I have some genetic birth defects associated with my kidney that causes me to have health issues. That's who I am as a human being. That's I have to pay that price just because I'm alive, right? So there's no one who's going to pay for that for me. There's nobody else. It's no one else's responsibility. God, I wish it was somebody else's responsibility because I might be in PV with you.
Got it. But we're gonna have to just have them all because we have so many more questions. But we do want to have you guys.
Next time I want to know about the drinking game because I want to participate.
Right? Me too.
Well,
I feel
now that we know what your auntie names are, we'll definitely think of a
part.
drinking game for you guys to participate in. But we need to get into the next thing, don't we?
That is true. We need to get to ask you auntie. And what time is it?
Ask your auntie.
Let's see who has it.
It's in the chat.
Oh, see, it's so funny. Last episode, we have never used the chat on Zoom or Skype or anything. And we're like, how many episodes have we done? And we're just now doing this.
Right. I can read it, or you got it.
Go for it.
I'll go for it. Recently, my friend and I had a discussion about escorting. He mentioned that an escort moved into his building with an older man. My friend was talking trash about this guy and how wrong he was for being an escort and using men. I had to politely yet firmly admonished him by saying how he was making a judgment call about this person who he knew nothing about. I said, you don't know his circumstances or why he is where he is at. I even shared a story with him about a close friend who was pimped out by his boyfriend and used escorting as a way to pay rent and nursing school tuition. So aunties and debt-free guys, just curious to hear your thoughts.
It's the oldest profession in the world, right?
That's true. It is.
So some Saint Mary from the Bible is going to reach out and smack you if you don't.
Not Mary.
They're gonna smack you with something.
Mary Magdalene. She said, "I'll wash your feet with my hair for $20."
It is interesting that they included in the comments here that someone went to nursing school. I also know somebody who put himself through chiropractic school being an escort, and it wasn't, I think at the time it wasn't something that he was so open about, but today has a very successful chiropractic practice because that was the means that he used. we all have arrive at our places in life differently, right? And so how we get to where it is that we want to go, sometimes it's going to look different than other folks, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's good or bad, as long as they mentioned here, pimping somebody out and using men, you don't necessarily want to do that.
I've never understood shaming escorts or porn stars. I mean, I remember going to the clubs and people like, oh, that's a porn star, you can't talk to them. Like, you're gonna go home and jerk off to them anyway. Why can't you talk
that part?
Ow.
Exactly. It's so true.
Sorry, I got bleeped.
This is not a G-rated show.
We talk
Not
on
at
real
all.
street.
Definitely not. We never heard.
And that's a good segue for the coming story.
For the
No pun
coming
intended.
story.
Or pun intended.
What's funny is,
go ahead.
This is an article that I've wanted to write for our website, but I just haven't found the right people to have the conversation with, because I would like to talk to someone who's done porn, someone who's been an escort, the various sex services or just human services, because there are escorts that don't actually have sex with someone. Sometimes they're just a companion.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what they pretend or tell us, right?
That's what they tell us.
That is a way to make an honest living, right?
Yeah.
So especially, we live here in Clark County in Nevada, so like there's prostitutes everywhere.
Right.
A hotel,
You
the
could throw a
D is
quarter.
right over here. We go walking early in the morning and you can see these girls coming out of the
It's like, hey,
hotel
girl.
early in the morning. Yeah, we know what you were doing last night.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand, because it's like usually the people that are slut shaming them, like we talked about that last week. We had Dr. Crystal on the Queer Doc, and that was her one thing. She's like, I don't know why we slut shame so many people, and it's usually those people that are shaming that are the ones that are jerking off on the porn or hiring those same escorts, like Lindsey Graham. I mean,
What?
but
Say
so it's just
their
like
name.
So it's just like I don't get it. And then it's just like almost going back to the last segment, saying I'm responsible for my bills. No one else is going to pay my bills. So if this is my means of paying my bills, so be it. Like, because you're not going to help me. Like, so just hush. So yeah, I don't like the pimped out part by the boyfriend, because that doesn't sound like that's voluntarily doing that. But other than that, do your job. And if you're hot, I might pay. No, just saying.
We will all
like,
get to that point in life, right?
Right.
Should I do this or
do,
should I not?
I do like that the conversation is shifting and attitudes and beliefs are shifting, not just within the LGBT community about sex positivity, right? And I know a lot of people have some kind of feeling towards that as a phrasing, but the reality of it is that we've been there's a couple things at play. And before I even get to that, I don't like the correlation between what this guy is doing to somebody who is being abused by another person. The pimped out part is someone who intimates that he has no choice, he or she has no choice, or they have no choice in the matter, and that is a form of human trafficking. That's a completely different issue than someone who is utilizing the skills, the talents, the beauty, the whatever that they have in order to do what they want, whatever it is. And so I don't really like that, and I think we need to break that cycle. That we need to break that cycle of conversation and correlating these things that are not someone who is progressively and purposefully using their capabilities and faculties and all those things to get what they want. That's one thing versus someone who has no choice in the matter. So that aside, but the other two things that I think is that, I love the fact that attitudes are changing in our community as it relates to sex work. It doesn't mean that we don't have a long way to go, because we do have a long way to go. Because I think the other point is hurt people. So if you grew up being judged, being abused, being treated as less than, and have these feelings of, I can't because fill in a blank, then invariably, and there are tons of studies that show that you then treat other people in that same way. You know, so the fact that someone was quote unquote judgmental about you know, this person who moved in this building, stay out of grown folks' business. It does not pertain to you. If it is not hurting you, it is not harming you, then what difference does it make? Like we have to like get out of these the idea that your morality has to be like forced on other people, because we don't like it and didn't like it when our parents and the community at large were forcing their views on us and keeping us in the closet. Now, why would you want to do the same for someone else?
I mean, I agree with everything y'all said, like all the way through. Like we shouldn't be judging people for making a living or making it work for them. You know, like everyone don't have the same circumstances. Everyone don't have the same opportunities. So to judge someone for not being able to do what you do, who's to say that they have the family, they have the money, they have the support system or whatever, or the doors open and opportunities that you did to allow you to be able to do what you do without having to do that. It's not okay to assume that everyone has had the same opportunities. And if you're paying attention in 2020, when we talk about equality, like this should not be, you know, an issue at this point. Like if you're obviously not paying attention and you're not woke if you are still judging people on making an honest living or trying to literally just, for some people, just actually fucking survive, you know? And I agree with you guys in the statement, like, you know, pimping is not the thing to be doing. My grandfather got arrested, so he was in jail for 30 years before, you know, like for doing it. Corel, that was the grandfather that passed away on Easter when I came to visit you that weekend. Literally like held onto his last breath until I made it to Atlanta to see him, and he passed away like literally 3 hours later. But anyways, you know, that's not the correct thing to be doing at all whatsoever, and no one should be doing, because like Duran said, that's part of human trafficking. I appreciate the person who wrote this question for checking their friend that made that comment to begin with and judge them, because that is how we normalize this, and that is how we get people to start having the correct conversations. You see something, you say something. If someone's acting a fool, you tell them, guess what? You acting a fool. It should not matter how close they are to you. It should not matter the bloodline to you, any of that. Right is right and wrong is wrong. And if someone is being racist, homophobic, sexist, or any type of judging, and to begin with, it is on us, especially to check those in our circles or those who we say are close to us. It is on us to check those people, because we are the ones who have a direct line to their heads, and their knowledge to understand, and teaching them to be better versus being what they currently are. So
it's interesting too in this question how they said an older man. Like, is that crucial to like the question? You know, that's interesting that there might even be a judgment on the age of it as well. You know, the ageism.
Everything gonna drop. I know these balls gonna be wrinkly at some point.
That building.
Look, it's all gonna droop at some point. You know.
But what I would piggyback off of what Jerrell was saying and take it one step further. You know, yes, we don't know what other people are dealing with that make them, you know, kind of do what they do, but also they could come from a perfectly fine, perfectly normal, perfectly healthy background, perfectly, you know, they could come from a well-to-do family, and it is their choice. And I think that's the operative thing. It is that person's choice in order to move in this route. Now, if it's not their choice, that's a whole different conversation, which is the dichotomy of this situation we're talking about. But if it's their choice, it doesn't matter whether or not their background or they didn't have the opportunities. It's their just like I chose the profession that I'm working in. This person chose the profession that they're working in. Let sleeping dogs lie wherever they want to lay down.
Boom. That part. That part.
As long as you ain't getting up with please, it don't concern you. Or you ain't paying the bills, it don't concern you.
And if so, go see Dr. Crystal, the queer doc.
Yes,
she got you.
See her, she got you.
Those things all the way together.
At one point, I wanted to be a stripper. Did I tell you that story about when I was?
Always wanted to too.
Yes. Okay. So no, for real. Okay. So well, I'll tell you this real quick.
Video for us to see.
Right.
So there is some, and some photos too. But so like this was back, when I was like 19, 20 years old, body was tight. I was a good wet 150, just boom, abs, all that. And I was doing some modeling and stuff like that. And I went home to my mom one day, and I will never forget this because my auntie was sitting there too. And we're a very open family. We talk about everything together. Sex.
They walk around
dating,
naked with each other. It's a commune kind of situation.
We are very just open. And we all grown. We know. Ain't no need to pretend at this point. So I was having a conversation with my mom, and I was like, Mom, I actually thought about being a stripper. And she was like, I could see that. I could see that. And she was like, and then my auntie was like, I can too, nephew. And we will be there every Friday, Saturday night, like throwing these ones like this and blah, blah. And that literally killed the whole thing for me. I'm like, I'm good. Actually, I don't want this anymore.
She was trying to be a rebel. That's what she was trying to be a rebel. She was trying to start some drama in her household.
I just wanted the choice.
Her Auntie Hennessy.
I just thought it was my choice. Like you were saying, it was something I just wanted to do. I had the body at the time to make the money. And I just wanted to make some coins,
Like I tell Corey this all the time. Every time we've gone to community, if you've heard of Swingin' Richards in Atlanta, it's a gay nude strip club. And every time I go there, I'm like, if it was like 10, 15 years ago, before like social media and all this shit, I would have wanted to do it just to say I did it. That's literally, and to this day, I'm like, I think that would be so freeing. Just, I don't know.
Nothing says you can't do it now.
Well, yes.
My man says I can't do it now. That's who says I can't do it now.
Here's the thing. Corey probably the first one up there, like, good $1. Like,
yeah, baby. Yeah, come on. Do it. Hit my face.
Look, Fizz will have the luggage at the front door waiting for you. So you know what you thought you was going to do. Sharon is not caring.
I would just add that for folks who are in this situation where you are in that industry, if you are a sex worker of any type, just remember that your skills may wane and you might not want to get stuck into, look for opportunities that will allow you to get out if that's what you want. We've all heard about people who've gotten stuck in dead-end jobs that they didn't like, and 20 or 30 years later, you're making good money, but you hate the job. Same thing can happen with sex work.
Not dead end blowjobs.
Dead end blowjobs.
Wait, is it dead end? Is it dead end? Like, are they no longer blowing at that point? Like, what makes it a dead end? I'm curious. I'm like,
you reach the back of the throat.
That dangling thing back there.
Back in the throat.
Come on, Cardi.
Oh, this is that brain conversation we had, right?
Well, community, continue sending your questions aya@minorityReport.com or DM us. But we obviously enjoy these conversations. But before you two get out of here, I know we brought this up at the very beginning that maybe a topic you wanted to talk about. What's his face that was masturbating on the Zoom call?
Toobin.
The CNN. Toobin, yes.
Jeff Toobin.
This is the first time that someone's got caught. This whole technology thing, he's just the biggest name. I guarantee you there's some other names out there.
I'm still trying to understand the logistics though, because I was reading about it and it sounded like he was already on a Zoom call, but they said that he joined another call that was a video app that was designed for like sexual conversations. That's how they described it. and I'm paraphrasing, but they said that he was on another call. And so he thought that he had clicked out of the video of the Zoom call and then pulled up this other screen to engage with what they do on that screen or that website. Little did he know that the Zoom call, he was not clicked out, right? That the Zoom call, what he did not actually click out. So then when he rejoined, he had no idea. He rejoined and had no idea that everybody on the Zoom call saw him with his stuff out. So he,
yes,
he works for CNN and he writes for the New Yorker.
Yes.
He can afford 2 computers.
Or 2 screens.
One work computer, one porn computer.
Would you advise that? Is that a good money spend?
Now he lost his job, so it would have been a great investment.
We have 4 computers.
Oh my God. That's got to be just so embarrassing though. It's just like, damn, because he's done it before. He's done it. This ain't the first time
to feel comfortable. To feel comfortable enough, like I'm just gonna pause this Zoom call, do my little thing
in the middle of the work.
Zoom call, this bores me.
Exactly. And then look, he came back. He like, so guys, what did I miss?
Oh my God! Literally, I saw that.
Can you imagine if you were his coworkers?
I would have scraped the comments. I would have kept those comments because there were people messaging him like crazy.
Oh
it's
my
like Toobin.
Oh my God! I
Okay,
can't even imagine.
So I have a little fear. I have a fear because my workstation. We live in a 1-bedroom apartment, and so I work literally out of our bedroom. So behind us is literally our fucking bed. And
made up very nicely, by the way.
Yeah, I'm very impressed.
Thank you. Black sheets, so it's covered. So no, but like where I'm currently sitting right now for this is my workstation. So whenever we're being grown folks in the bed right behind us, a part of me always be like, look at the monitors, make sure you can't see nothing. Did you mute the computer? Did you because the last thing I want is a sound bite, a video, or anything.
Jerrell's ass all in the air.
You could end up being Kim.
You're right. That's where it is. That's exactly where it is. In the air.
Jerrell, is that you? Jerrell, is that you?
Jerrell,
is that you?
We can see you.
Right. Look, they're like, oh, we see you on screen. We didn't know you had all that ass down below the screen.
Right. Oh. Well, here's the thing. Jerrell already told us 2 episodes ago that he's never wearing pants. So it's just like, it's the norm.
Right.
That's true, though. Oh, it's true.
That is so funny.
I wish there was video, though. That's what I was looking for. Because as soon as
I was looking on Twitter, too.
I went on Twitter. Because if you look on regular
know what it
Google,
looks like.
I mean, a dick is a dick. I mean, I would want to see.
A dick is not a dick. A hole is a hole, but a dick is not a dick.
Is not a dick. You're right on that.
I agree with that. I stand corrected. There are levels to this.
Right. Definitely levels to this. But, we're so glad that you guys took time to come on this episode with us. We're going to have you back because there was more questions that we just didn't get to.
Totes.
Tout your social media. Where can they find you? And then I know there's also a credit card history or how to get out of debt program that you guys are offering as well.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for letting us come on your platform and talk about this.
Absolutely.
It's a challenge. We're trying to reach the queer community, and it's through platforms like yours and you giving us the opportunity to do this that we're able to connect with our community more efficiently. So we want to thank you for that. We're Debt-Free Guys on debt-freeguys.com and Debt-Free Guys on all social media platforms. We also have the Queer Money Podcast, and we're the Queer Money Podcast on all social media platforms, except for Twitter. It's a little pathetic, so don't go there. And yes, we are offering to your watchers and listeners, we have the Debt Lasso calculator. The Debt Lasso method is our process for helping people pay off credit card debt as fast as possible, get their credit score above 750, and it helps them save more money than either the snowball or the avalanche method to pay off credit card debt. And so we've offered the calculator free to your audience, and they're welcome to, through your platform, they're welcome to join the credit card payoff plan if they'd like to.
And community will have that up on our social medias. Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, and honestly, like, and I've said this before, but like, normally it's Carell who's always like, "Oh, this might be my favorite episode." This time, this is me to say this because this is an area that I have absolutely no idea of where to go and how to, be the best that I can be personally. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like, one, I was in school, but at two, at the same time, I felt like it was like such a mature adult thing. I just felt like this was the right path. Like everything about you all being here today, personally for me, felt like my life prior to this had led me up to like meeting you all. So I have to personally say that because I have notes. Like literally, this is my page. This is my page of notes. I don't know y'all can see it, but like I got a page of notes over here. Like I've loved everything about having you guys on here. So just for me personally, thank you so much.
Nice. Well,
and look, if you guys
absolutely,
and if you guys ever want to have some raunchy conversations, who can have those.
I know. Absolutely.
We had to get the business out of the way first, but the next time you come back, we'll spend more time on the raunchy stuff.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it, and we'd love to come back and connect and partner in other ways. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes, definitely have that.
Thank you. Enjoy your time in Viva Las Vegas.
Thank you. Enjoy PV.
Yeah. We'll do. We'll do.
Take care.
All right. Yep. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye. You in this damn game.
It wasn't even you mentioned it, but I mean, it's been staring at me. My little thing's been staring at me this whole time. Like, you ain't drink me yet.
Right. That's what, like, and honestly, like the reason I'm not drinking right now, and I was waiting for the guest to get off because it probably gets TMI. Literally, I've been to. Oh, see, y'all got me cognizant of stunting, and I'm not trying to.
Go ahead. Go ahead. We're ready to drink.
I've been.
How many mimosas have you had?
I've only had one down here actually. But my reason to say this is like I've been here to Mexico many a times. This is the first time that I've gotten Montezuma's revenge. My stomach has been so upset the last 24 hours. Girl, I know. Like I was like, "Oh, am I gonna have to run to the bathroom on this episode?" I am not even lying. Like last night was so fucking horrible. It was terrible. Like I didn't get like any sleep. And then today, haven't really been able to drink because it's like my stomach is just churning. So Montezuma,
it's so wild because like
make your duty rain like confetti. Scooter Gang, sorry. Y'all don't know about Scooter Gang. Right? That's an old rap group that I had. Actually, Jawan, you met my friends. Right, you met my friends at the wedding last year. Breen and Apolka, the ones that gave me that wolf top at the wedding.
Yes.
They have a rap group called Scooter Gang. And we should just make the most stupidest, like we would try to come up with like the stupidest and funniest rhymes. And that was one of mine. But I was like, Montezuma's revenge, all in your belly, make your doo-doo rain like confetti.
See.
And it's come back to haunt me. It's come back to haunt me like over a decade later.
I still love hanging out with those guys. That was such a fun time.
That was, we need to have them back on because they were dropping gems. And it's just like, whew.
Yeah.
Oh, I do want to give the. I
mean, I got you.
Yeah.
I do want to give the community an update though, because I did have my first doctor visit since we had.
That's right.
Yes, we had Dr. Crystal on. Yeah, so it was my first time I seen a doctor in over a decade.
Did you put a finger up your booty hole?
No, because it was a telehealth. Tried it.
Okay.
But probably 2021 they're gonna have like Zoom meetings where you can just pierce through things.
Right. With that 5G.
Anyway, right. But I found out though it is very common for people in their early 30s to then start looking for a primary care because that is typically when they establish some type of health insurance where they can afford it and they are able and they're more cognitive because their focus shifts as far as the priorities go. So, he made me feel a lot more better about it. So if you are listening and you don't have one, it is not too late. Don't feel bad. It is very common towards the end of your 20s, early 30s to start, establishing a primary care. But I am on
Make
Fiverr.
Sure you continue to go.
Yes, that part. Yeah, so I'm on Fiverr now. He made me get on a Fiverr regimen, and then I'm taking like some other type of stuff for like anti-accident. But he was really cool. I liked him so much. I am so glad. Like, I'm telling you, he's also cute too. I was like, okay.
There you go. That helps.
It's
like, hey, doctor. Hey, doctor, I'm feeling a little ill.
Man, look, this fine Asian man was like the perfect 5 o'clock shadow. This he was all faded up and stuff like that. I was like, faded. Hey, hey, Dr. Chu, how you doing? But honestly, he just made me feel so comfortable. And yes, I encourage people, like, if you listen to last episode, find a doctor. If you feel in some kind of way, pay attention to your health. If you listen to this episode, pay attention to your debt and your credit. And I'm like, y'all, we are doing this for a reason, because people, they're not lying. Our guests aren't lying when they say like these conversations are not happening in our community. And I can say, as one of the aunties who are literally having those conversations and battles currently right now at the age of fucking 32, like, it's real. We aren't, so I encourage you all to not just, I hope you're not skipping or fast forwarding, but I hope you're taking notes, rewinding, and when we're tagging our guests, that you are following up and you're asking these questions and you're going to them, because this is how we be better. The more you know, this is right. But it's like that saying, like, knowledge is power. Like, we're providing you with the knowledge so you can have the power to be the best version of you. So
especially after 2020, going into 2021, we damn sure going to try to be the best. So
look,
seriously,
and we'll see where we at in 2 weeks too, or 9 days after this podcast.
I had just made it a whole almost an hour and a half without even thinking about that for the first
9 days after this podcast drops, y'all.
Yeah. Get out there and vote if you haven't voted.
I'm scared. Yes, please. And tell your people, hold your people accountable. Like, if you gotta bribe motherfuckers, bribe motherfuckers. Like, I'm telling y'all, like, I mean, I ain't talking about
an escort if you need to.
Like
bribe them with an escort.
But I mean, tell people, I'll give you some booty if you go vote. Right. Look, I made these cheeks clap.
Some booty if you go vote. You stupid. I'm gonna start saying that forever. I'll get you some booty if you go vote.
I will say I'm low key mad we have a pandemic right now, because I feel like if we weren't going through this, like, celebrities would probably be even more engaged. Because I was thinking the other day, I was like, man, you got people waiting like 11 hours. Like, can you imagine a celebrity being like, I'm at this polling station. If you come and you poll, I'll be there. You get to get a picture with me. I'll take something. Seriously. You know what I'm saying? Like,
they should do it anyway, like, still doing it in a social distance way.
And a social distance, like, literally just be like mask in the back behind people, just playing music or something. Like, something. Because but I will say this, as of right now, when we're recording, I think there are 30 million people who have early voted as of today.
Oh, it's that high.
Yes.
Wow. I didn't realize it was that high already.
It is ridiculous. This is about to be the most amount of people that have voted in U.S. history.
Good. And it should be the same. Like, it should be. And here's the thing.
Every year.
Again, after this, we're going to have to vote again. We got to get a lot of people out that, like, have not stood up for, oh, boy.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
I hear you. I think it's Dewan, boo.
Dewan.
I hear you, Crow.
There's going to be a lot of people that we still need to vote out after this. So don't become lax after this. Just because we showed up in record numbers in 2020, we need record more numbers in 2021, 2022, and infinity and beyond. Because
come on, Buzz Lightyear.
Seriously. Because it's just like, no, this ain't just like a 1-year thing. This is the rest of your life. These are habits that you're setting up for the rest of your life.
And we know this because even the Supreme Court is like the perfect example of how this shit affects you for the rest of your life. Like,
like today, now, this episode comes out, they're voting to
Amy Whitehead burn it or whatever. Like, ugh.
So it's just like these are habits we need to set up to, like Jerrell just said, to have a better you going forward. And a better you equals a better community going forward and a better world going forward, you know?
That part, you know? And those are the real conversations we need to be having, you know, just again, reminding people that voting isn't just about right now, it's about our future as well.
You know what we should have asked the debt money guys? We should have asked them how I save up for this Ivy Park Part 2 because Beyonce need a layaway plan.
But like, let me say, I already have decided I'm gonna be broke. You know, I'm already broke during the pandemic. I'm gonna be broke during the pandemic, and I'm gonna look fly from the crib. I'm literally gonna be a fly in the crib, like just.
Because she said she just came out the blue and said, "Oh, the new drip dropping October 30th." I'm like, damn, Beyonce, you gotta give us time to save these coins. Stop it.
I mean, technically, we haven't been going out, so we should have been saving a little bit.
I guess.
But are you getting something from her new line? Because you got something from her last line.
I got the shoes that were dented.
I remember those.
The shoes that were smushed from the get-go.
But then you get like the shirt.
And then I got and I guess I haven't worn it on the podcast.
The hoodie.
Yeah, I got the hoodie and sweatpants. Yeah, and they're cute too. They're cute.
Have you worn them?
I haven't worn them on. No, it's been the COVID. I ain't had nowhere to wear them. I wear them.
Yeah, that's right, because that was January. So yeah.
But I'm gonna see what she come out with. I'm probably gonna try to get some again.
Try to snag some.
You know, try to snag a little something.
I don't know. I don't think I'm getting the Ivy Park just because I ain't got nowhere to go for Ivy Park.
Yeah.
But I think I'm gonna get some Fenty because you know I got fizz, you know. So I'm like, y'all see those memes about like Black Twitter? I fucking love Black Twitter, but it was like memes of like girls being in their dude's ear, but like, you better take them Fenty drawers off when I get home. You know, like girls being turned on dude in Fenty underwear. I was like, y'all
right. Did the right thing. She found that new line. I'm like, come on.
I do wish the Fenty underwear was like a little bit more sexy for men, though.
Yeah, they not it.
Because it's like the boxers are just like,
it's more for straight men. It's more exactly straight men, like comfortability, you know. It's because the gays would be like, can I get a butt cheek out? You know, can I get some pouch support? You know, like,
and look, and she had like you know, like all the sexy underwear for all the women with the straps and all the accessories. It was like, why can't we have that stuff?
And we got a Hanes like version. We got a Fruit of the Loom version.
And here's the funny thing about it: the truth of the fact is, the men that are going to be buying it are going to be the gay man. It's not going to be the straight man being like, "Oh, I don't know, buy me some Rihanna for my girl." You know, like, hey, let me. We got Fenty matching crew up in this house, like.
Showing up at Cedar Point with your man Fenty,
you know, and I low key feel bad for the straight girl that's gonna buy her man that Fenty underwear, but I will I at least hope that he wears it like he wear some Hanes, where like to the point where there's some holes in his drawers. You know, at least he wears it all the way out. You know. The custom glory hole in his drawers because of his own junk, you know, at least I hope you get your money's worth, right?
Oh man, Jesus, I don't even know. Like, we're an hour and a half in.
Speaking of Beyonce too, I love that she posted about what's going on in Nigeria too.
Yes. It's great. Like, and honestly, it feels like it's similar to the U.S. Honestly, like their cops are set up to kill their people.
Yeah.
Like,
It's a whole different situation there over there, though. Yeah, because they're like blatant with it.
Level. Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. Well,
I mean, they do got all them Nigerian princes, so there is a lot of, you know.
I guess it's sad. It is one of those things. Just like, in a way, I feel hopeless in a way, because it's just like we can't even fix our shit here in the U.S.
Yeah.
And like, how can I help you with the same similar problem and over there? Besides like raising awareness and donate when I can, and you know, it's just like, golly.
It just makes me think of the conversation though, like as us and Black folks here in America, and especially after like Black is King came out, and even me particularly as a Black person, I was like, I want to go home more. I want to go to the motherland, to the root of where we come from, you know, and feeling like that was the utopia. That's where we can escape and we can be ourselves. And to hear that this happening in one of the countries, what embodies our whole homeland.
I think it's the most populous country in Africa as well.
I think so, but like
Nigeria,
to hear that it's happening there, it's just like, man, maybe is there really a space for us anywhere in this fucking world? Any fucking where? Like, that's supposed to be the motherland. That's supposed to be our root, you know? Like, and to hear and to see what's happening back there is just so fucking sad. I'm feeling tired all over again, but I'm feeling tired from a whole nother different pot of reserve, you know, like it's
absolutely. So Nigeria, we're thinking of you. Community, if you find organizations or anything like that we could help share and promote and donate and things like that, let us know. Hit us up in the DMs or email us. Because we got to continue to raise awareness. But man, it's like damn. 2020, Jesus.
Showing both cheeks.
Hard left. Halloween. So do you guys have anything planned for Halloween? What's going on? Because like by the time this episode airs, like this week will be the week of Halloween. So, you know, I mean, obviously there's not any major parades or anything like that, like outside and indoors and whatnot. Is it a thing, or are you just staying home watching some movies? What's the deal?
Staying my ass home. Corey loves Halloween, and since we moved to Atlanta, there's not as many trick-or-treaters because like East Atlanta Village does like a big Halloween thing, so a lot of people just take their kids there. So he gets bummed out because in Dallas, like we went all out. Like Corey had fog machines and
I know about that fog machine.
Right, that fog machine. So, especially this year, there's definitely not like anyone gonna be in the neighborhood. So I think we're just gonna chill out. I know Hocus Pocus is doing a reunion. So maybe it's around that same time. Watch that. But even now, Corey's a diabetic, so we ain't gonna be eating all this kind of candy. So
that part.
I mean, 2020 just really did the number. Like
it came in
on Halloween
like a wrecking ball.
It was a group mollywop, just like all of us in one.
Seriously,
I have no plans. I feel bad. Like I want to do something for trick-or-treaters. I saw this really cool idea of buying like little snack size Ziploc bags and putting like little candies in there and just having like a bowl or something out like that.
Hand out disinfectant. That's what I'm
right. So like I think that would be a good idea, like to have that and then have like a little one of those packaged disinfectants and stuff like that, you know. I feel bad for the kids. You know, this is something that a lot of kids look forward to, and it's just I would love to have some normalcy for them. But at the same time, like grown folks, you ain't immune. So you got to be hella smart about it. Yeah. And so at this point, what I suggest doing, because this is what I'm going to do, is I am going to, if you know children, or if you have people who have kids, set up some type of like mail-in like Halloween basket. You know, like there's Easter baskets. Like do like a Halloween basket where you can send to the kids. You can, you can ship it to them, and then they have their Halloween candy and stuff like that. In those baskets, you should include like different type of Halloween activities. You know, such as like little puzzles, coloring books, like little flip it books and stuff like that that they can do to help give them those activities that make Halloween actually fun, of doing things on Halloween. So I've been really advocating for, if we're going to do Halloween, we should be doing Halloween for the kids, not for the adults. Because at the end of the day, it's just another Friday for us. In real talk, and of the people who are the most affected by this pandemic as the adults. So we should be the main ones staring our asses at home. So if we're going to stay at home, let's make it fun for the kids, include like little microwave popcorn that you can do and stuff like that. Amazon and other like different organizations have like little $5 like little DVD movie things that you can buy too. $5, you can get Nightmare Before Christmas, Hocus Pocus, and other like like Halloween movies that are kid friendly and stuff like that. Just think outside of the box as far as what you can do, so that way the kids don't have to be outside.
And it's on a Friday too.
And
Dang.
It's on a Friday. I know every.
It's on a
Is it
Saturday
Saturday?
this year.
Is it Saturday?
Yeah.
It is. You're right. It is.
Yeah.
I just know every grown folk was excited last year about this shit being on a Saturday. But bitch, I can turn up. I don't gotta work the next day. Hey, like.
Now we got
me and my
shut that shit all the way down.
Right, because me and my Seattle crew, we were going as the Muses from Hercules. So we had all 5 of us. We knew exactly we were gonna like that. Yeah. We had this planned out from last year. We were going as the Muses because I coached on Halloween last year. So I ended up wearing a wig to the volleyball game. Dewan, the wig you got me, my first wig. I actually wore that to the volleyball game.
Okay.
Yes,
yeah.
So,
and now she's a wig connoisseur.
I mean, who said that?
Difference in your makes.
We're gonna have to have a wig episode when we don't have a guest. We got to bring the wigs back.
We haven't had a wig episode in a while.
Yeah, we need to have a
Maybe
wig episode.
2 weeks. I think. Yeah. Is the next one that we don't have a guest. So I guess that's a teaser for next week, community. We have another great guest next week. But yeah.
I want to get another wig now. I want something short. I've been going shorter lately.
You have it.
So
I like the one that you had the little Sierra Bob moment. That's my favorite one of you right now.
The like 1990s R&B.
Always zhuzhing it up. Yeah. She was playing in that wig
it was fun. It was cute. I kind of want like an Anita Baker, like short wig that's like a little bit long up top. I kind of want something like that. Like that.
Rapture of love. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, and before we forget too, happy International Pronouns Day, which is today. So whatever pronoun you go by, hey, happy day to you.
Yeah, I think the important thing about
we never even shared on here our preferred pronouns. What's your preferred pronoun?
He, him, his.
Same.
Yeah, same here.
I
mean, if she called me she, cool. If you called me auntie, cool.
Yeah, same. I think the important thing is I think the important thing about pronouns and understanding like the importance of it is that we've moved away from like the idea that pronouns are preferred. That's what it is. This isn't like a sexual preference. It is your sexuality. This isn't your preferred pronoun. It is your pronoun. And so, it's there's a little bit of education that needs to go out there. And it takes practice. And I'll be the first to admit that, I don't always get it right. But it's about education and practice and being respectful of that person and who that individual wants to be referred to as.
Okay, so I got a question for y'all. We got a few minutes. So I find myself, because I am being more cognitive of pronouns at work when you are talking to a group. I'm struggling to get out of saying, "Hey guys, how's it going?"
Yeah.
Like
I don't even know I say it.
Yeah.
Like, and I think it's such a Midwest thing that like you grew up in the Midwest, everyone says you guys, and it doesn't even mean male to me. It just means a collective group of people.
Yeah. And now like I find myself, I'm like, I'll be talking, like I'll be doing a training with like a group of ladies or women. And I'll be like, all right, so do you guys have any questions? And like I'm like in the training, so I can't, like, I feel bad being like, I said this, but in my head, I'm like, that was so disrespectful. I feel so bad. Like I shouldn't have said that. And luckily they're still polite enough. They're like, oh, and it may be something on their radar. But as a person in the queer community, I find myself feeling very bad for saying, hey guys. And now I feel like I need to be in the South. I'm like, hey y'all, how y'all's doing today? Like
yeah, I know. Yeah, I struggle with it all the time. Yeah, like, I think it was even last episode. I was like, you guys, and I was like, that means collective group because it just comes out. Yeah. But then I also try to include they when I say he or she or him or her. I'm like, I try to say him, her, they, or he, him, and them, or he, she, them. Like I try to include that third, the non-binary part of it as well. I don't always do it, and so I'm growing this practicing as well, like Dewan said. But I try to be aware of that now. Even like on posts on like IG where you're just saying, hey, she, they, he. I try to include it. Not always 100% into it. So if you have to call us out, call us out. It is what it is.
Yeah, our community. If you have if you know like a website or something that has a list of things to say to replace the common things that people are saying, that would be helpful, because what I find myself is like having, it's not that I'm not thinking about it, it's just that I'm not aware of the words that I could, or of a grouping of words that I could use to replace the words that I'm currently saying. So that way I'm more cognitive of being more correct when it comes to pronouns. So if there's a list or a website out there of like, hey, instead of saying, guys or ladies, you can say this, and this.
A couple of, so
that would be nice.
A couple of things that you can say is everyone, everybody, folks, team, and peeps. So those are socially acceptable terms. It's not the only ones, but those are socially acceptable terms to use in replacement of hey guys.
Oh, it's a tough one. It's just so in the DNA from like literally jump, like from the starting talking. Like that's what everyone said. So yeah, I struggle with it too.
My I don't know if I share this on the podcast, but I took a new job, and I'm now the new director of inclusive talent development for DocuSign. And so my job is really focused on thank you. Cannabis thing dried up, so we had to move on. But it's really about infusing, creating and supporting an inclusive culture throughout the organization through learning and events and providing consultancy and all that stuff. And we have these conversations, and one of the biggest conversations is it's no longer an excuse to understand your intent. It's about perception. So your intent could be positive, like, oh, hey guys, to be inclusive using the term guys, but the perception of what you're saying is really what matters. Your intent could be positive and it could be great and it could be trying to be inclusive, but if the reality is, if it's not perceived by the people in that way, because we're using terminology that is antiquated, no matter how much it's ingrained within us, that just means we have to do that much more work to break that habit. Just like, when we came out of the closet, and then our friends and families had to break that habit of talking about our special friend.
That part. Yeah, I agree 1000%. But let's see, like I'm trying to look, like my brain is not turned on today.
I think that's about it, honestly. And to be honest, this is the first time in a long time we had an episode that was not at 2 hours mark. So
true.
Well, I'm gonna finish the last of my little.
You got cheers, Bill.
Yeah, cheers.
Clink, bitch.
And community, continue to wash your hands, your legs, your ass. Be safe out there. Continue to vote early if you can, because the day of is probably about to be a zoo.
Yes.
So
agreed.
Vote early if you can. Get out there. Get your family. Get your friends to all get out there and vote. And we will see you next week with another special guest, by the way. So take care.
Love y'all.
Bye, community.